All right, good day, everyone. Welcome to Conversations on Retail. We are kicking off a brand new series today called Lap Around America, where we are celebrating consumer product entrepreneurship, the companies that are taking brand new products to market. And we're so excited today to welcome Jolene Conway. She's the founder of a company called Dible Dough. Jolene, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Matt. I'm glad to be here.
I'm really excited to learn more about the Dible Dough story and sort of where you come from, where the company has come from. But first, tell us what Dible Dough is.
So Dible Dough is an edible cookie dough bar. So if you think about a cookie dough candy bar, it's not a protein bar. It is not a healthy item, but it is a better for you indulgent treat. And that's really kind of the area that we wanted to be in. I think, when I remember when cookie dough ice cream came out, and you would go through the vanilla to try to get the bits of cookie dough. You wanted that cookie dough. So the whole thing really comes around that some people just want to have the cookie dough and they don't want the cookie. That's how the product really started. Was my friend Suzy, who said, I'd rather have the dough than the cookie, right? Like, I just want the dough. So that's really how we started. It's we have both refrigerated and shelf stable.
Okay.
Our refrigerated bars are made with the simple, recognizable ingredients. That's butter, flour, sugar, salt, the same things that I make my cookies with. The shelf stable doesn't have to be refrigerated, and so we use a butter blend. But it's still, I still wanted to honor the commitment that I have of making the same cookies, this product with the same ingredients that I make my cookies with at home. Yeah. No preservatives, no artificial colors, flavor sweeteners, all that.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about the Dible Dough story. And I like going back as far as is relevant. I mean, did you grow up in an entrepreneurial family? Have you had an entrepreneurial bug your entire life? And sort of what brought you to the point of founding this company?
I think my dad was an entrepreneur. He was a home builder. He had his own, he was a general contractor. And so I get that, from him probably. But my mom loves to entertain. And I mean, to this day, she's 80 something years old. And she still is having people over 3 or 4 times a week for dinner. So she just loves to entertain. So I think I grew up in a household where, number one, eating together was important. You sat down for meals and talked about your day, and that was, that I think that sense of sharing food together, and whether that's as a family or having friends over or family gatherings, that whole that sharing of experience was really important to me growing up. My friends would come to our house, and my mom was always cooking something. She was either cooking or baking or something, and so our house always smelled good, And that I think there's a comfort in that, feels like home. So yeah, I think I went to college, went to the University of Iowa, graduated with a speech and hearing science degree, went into medical sales, got married, started having kids, and was a stay-at-home mom. So we have 3 daughters, stay-at-home mom for the years until they grew up. And when our youngest then was getting ready to go to kindergarten, my friend said to me, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, and I can't go back into medical sales. I don't know. And she said, well, what are you good at? And I said, well, I think I'm good at cooking. And she said, you know what? Your chocolate chip cookies are the best I've ever had. Why don't you do something with that? So I would make my cookies the day before. I would roll them up in balls, and I would put them in the fridge and bake them the next day, just because I think they bake out better. Yeah. And I would go to make the cookies, and half of the dough was gone, because everybody knew that I always had cookie dough in the fridge. And I'm like, there's something to this. So that's really how I got started. I think it was just like, okay, there's a product here that isn't available on the market. It wasn't a product that everybody knows and has eaten cookie dough before, but it wasn't in the form that they could just grab it and go. So I went to a water park in in Texas. We were living in Texas at the time, and I went to this water park, and I said to the guy there, I think I've come up with an idea. I've got this cookie dough that doesn't have raw eggs in it, and it's in a little souffle cup. I would love to sell this in your concession stands. And he said to me, he goes, well, who would buy that? And I said, well, anybody who wanted a sweet, indulgent treat. So instead of a candy bar or an ice cream bar. And he said, then make it look like that. And I went, oh, that's brilliant. And so found a manufacturer to make it in the form of a bar and started researching all the things that, it takes to bring a product to market. And we were off to the races.
So you launched your business with one customer selling to the water park. At what point did you bring on customer number 2, customer number 3?
Well, okay, so that's funny because he didn't take it. He actually was not my first customer, but he gave me the idea.
He just gave you the big idea.
Right, exactly. But my first customer was actually, so my first customers were, because I was the team mom, I was the stay-at-home mom, so I was the team mom for our girls' athletic events. And so our first customers, I asked the coaches of our high school, I said, okay, can I sell this in the concession stand? And they said, yeah, sure. And I said, I want to see, let's prove the concept. Yeah. So, and it, took off like wildfire. And so I went, okay, that's what it is. And my husband was a college football coach. So I went to the athletic director and I said, how do we sell something in a concession stand at the football stadium? You have no idea. And you just start asking questions. And then somebody says, well, you got to go talk to this guy. And then they say, well, really, you have to go this way and you have to do this. And so that's really how I started selling in concession stands at Texas State University.
Wow. So how did you make the leap from concession stands? And I'm assuming making product from your home kitchen. How did you make that leap then into a consumer ready packaged product that was selling at retail stores?
So I think, so you're right. I started when I first started with these little cups and that I got at Sam's Club with the little souffle cups. That's when I, said, okay, this is something here. So I found a co-packer who could make, had the equipment, could make it in the form of a bar, could flow wrap it and all the things, tell me, where do I get barcodes? How do I, all the things. And I thought, okay, it was almost that mentality of, okay, if I could sell 100 of these in the Wimberley High School concession stand, then I bet I could sell 1,000 of those at the Texas State stands, concession stands. And if I could sell 1,000 of them, I bet I could sell 5,000 of them if I went to HEB. And, I think it just starts, in my mind, I kept thinking about, okay, who else would buy this? I mean, if it's somebody who doesn't want a candy bar or somebody who doesn't want a ice cream bar, but they're looking for a sweet, indulgent treat, who is that customer and where are they buying those things? Sure. So then, if you look at it in those terms, you're going, okay, that's every grocery store, that's every convenience store, that's every concession stand. At that point, then you're having to think about, okay, what's the right path to go on next? And it was funny because, so I thought, okay, school fundraisers, that, where kids are selling off of a catalog, to sell to their, to make money for their soccer team or fourth grade class, whatever. So I went to a trade show for, concession or for, fundraising distributors, and bought a booth and said, okay, I'll start here and just see what this market is like. And distributors picked it up, put it in their catalog, which was great for me because I didn't have a sales force. So, I'm utilizing their sales forces. They're buying it from me. Right. So I get paid for it right away. I can pay my, my manufacturer. And it was great. And then I also had met a guy who had, some movie theaters in the Memphis and around the Memphis area. And he said, and I said, oh, you know what? Buttery popcorn and cookie dough. There's nothing better at a movie theater. Yeah. So we were in about 70 movie theaters around the Memphis area, and COVID hit. So here, my only sales were movie theaters and schools. And we all know what happened to movie theaters and schools during COVID. So I went, holy camole, what happens now?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I just had a friend introduce me to somebody at Quick Trip convenience stores. And got my foot in the door there and said, here's a product I'd love to sell. And he said, well, we'll start it in the Tulsa and Wichita markets, and we'll see how it does. And it went great. And so they said, great, we're going to add you to all of our stores nationwide. So,
wow.
It was being at the right place at the right time. And having the good Lord put me in front of the right people.
Love that. Who was the first sort of brick and mortar retailer that you've talked to and you're doing business with? And what was that experience like?
I'll tell you, the first one I talked to was H-E-B grocery store, because we were in Texas. And so,
Right.
if that was the natural, it was such a sad, but great lesson for me to learn. Because again, here, I didn't know anything about anything, and got this meeting, went into the category manager and said, okay, I've got this cookie dough bar. And he says, well, how are you going to package it? What's your merchandising going to be like? And I'm thinking of all these things and trying to answer off the cuff because I just don't know anything. And he obviously knew I didn't know anything, but he worked with me and he was so kind. And he said, here's what I would do if I were you. And he said, put them in a 10-pack and, blah, blah, blah. So he worked with me and finally got to the point where we decided on a price and I was going to deliver it. Everything was great. And then they came in and he goes, okay, but you have you thought about these other things like promos and ad spend and trade spend? And we're going to you might have a lumper fee if you had, and all these things that I of course didn't know about.
Yeah.
So I went home to my husband and I said, I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is I think we're going to get into 120 H-E-B stores. The bad news is we're going to lose money on it. But we're going to be an H-E-B. I was so excited. And I said, this is going to be great because we'll be able to go to other retailers and say, but we're an H-E-B and, then the business is going to flourish. And he looked at me and he goes, Joe, we can't lose money on our first customer. And I go, yeah, but it's H-E-B. And he goes, I really think you need to think about this. I'm not telling you how to do your business. I really think you got to think about this.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I did because I pulled back and I said, okay, we can't do it at this price. And would you do it at this price? And H-E-B said, nope, I can't do it at that price. We've already agreed on this price. And if you can't do it, we don't, we're not going to. I was so sad, Matt. I was I was devastated because I thought this was it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm so thankful now knowing how pricing works and, knowing the market now. So glad I didn't do that because we would have been out of business in 6 months. It never would have gotten off the ground.
Yeah. It's easy to find the logic in your perspective on it and say, well, yeah, we're going to lose a little bit of money at the beginning, maybe a lot of money at the very beginning, but now we can at least say we've got the halo effect that comes from saying that we're at H-E-B. But right. I mean, obviously you made the right decision. I can see how it would have been a really difficult decision.
Heartbreaking. Yeah. But I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, for sure. So where's Dible Dough available today in terms of brick and mortar retail?
So we're in about 5,000 stores nationwide now.
Wow.
So Quick Trips, convenience stores, the QT Quick Trips. We're in Sheetz, convenience stores. We're in Walmart. We're in the front end of Walmart. We are in Meijer grocery stores. We're in several, we're in a lot of independent grocery stores and a lot of distributors. So we're in with a lot of the major distributors. So, we don't really have good visibility of which stores those are actually going into. But yeah, I think our focus right now is really retail. On the retail side is really convenience store and grocery stores.
Yeah.
And we've kind of adapted from our original, single bar item to now pouches. And, we've expanded our offering a little bit to fit those sets better.
Yeah. And are you working? I'm not asking you to name names, but are you working with a growth agency that's handling the retailer relationships for you, or is that something that you've had to bring on people in order to assume that responsibility in house?
We're doing it ourselves. We do have brokers that we work with that are either C-store specific or grocery store specific, or maybe they're chain specific. So we do have some an outside sales force that helps us in terms of that. But really, our focus has been more on, okay, if we're already shipping this product to this distributor in this area, who else is pulling out of that DC that we can go to? Because if we've already paid for that product to get there, then how do we maximize that distribution from that area?
Yeah.
So I think that's really our focus. Our oldest daughter is our director of sales, and so that's what great. She's been charged with. Yeah. She came from a world of she was in college football. She was in their director of recruiting, and comes from a football background, which essentially is sales. She was selling parents and kids on the universities that she worked for. So she gets that part of it, but that's really what we've charged her with. Like, okay, here's where we're going. Now let's find out, how do we increase that distribution?
Yeah. What's next? I mean, I know that's a really broad question, but what's taking up the most of your time? Are you spending most of your time on innovation on the product side? Are you spending more of your time looking for key retailers to expand with?
Yes and yes, both of those things. I think for the retailers that we've been with, for the last 5 or 6 years, they're looking for what's the next innovation. So I can't forget about that. So on both our refrigerated bars and our shelf-stable bars, keeping that fresh and trendy. And, like in the last 6 months, we developed the Snickerdoodle churro bar, which is fantastic, by the way. But that's such a trending flavor, and it's a strong, bold, cinnamony, sugary, flavor. So we'll roll out a shelf-stable flavor in October, a new one that I think is going to be, it'll be great. But we also have to increase distribution. So, I mean, I think we've really, we're really not at 5,000 stores. When you say that, when you look at what that breadth of those,
yeah, you're just getting started.
Yeah, we've got so much growth. And I just got back last night from a show where we've met with some large retailers that are excited about the product and excited about seeing what we can do with them. So I think this next year is going to be what we like to call the hockey stick of growth for us. So
yeah, that's great. 2 more questions. You mentioned a moment ago sort of the lesson learned in that first experience with HEB. What other advice would you give to other early stage, growth stage CPG companies based on some of the lessons that you've learned along the way? What are some of the things that you wish you would have known then that you would encourage some of your peers in the industry to be thinking about now?
2 things come to mind, Matt. Number one is don't price yourself out. One of the pieces of advice that I got early on was make sure that you're including all your costs. And at the time, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that I was supposed to have all of these other costs involved. And so when I went to HEB and said, here's where I can sell it to you. Yep. Yeah. This is what I'm going to sell. And I'm going to make a nice little 30% margin. And we're all going to live happily ever after. And then you go, oh my gosh, I didn't know there was all those other things. So my one piece of advice is don't make sure you know what all those costs are. Make sure you've got marketing in there. Make sure you've got, your transportation fees and trade spends and all the things that could go wrong, and price. Make sure that you price for the worst case scenario so that you never get into a bind. And then and if you don't have to pay a lumper fee when you deliver your product somewhere, then that just goes right into your pocket. So that would be that's really, I think, the thing that I think kills companies, and it kills small companies. But I think the other thing that I'm so excited and hopefully I'm able to share with other people getting started is just that people are so friendly. People in this industry are truly wanting you to be successful. And I think now at this, time in our society, that people want people to be successful. And whether that's women helping women or minorities helping minorities or, big companies helping small companies. I mean, that's the other thing that we see. We see, larger companies, doing some innovative programs that, allow entrepreneurs to get the help that they need. So, I mean, just asking questions, and it's okay to not have the answers. It's okay to go, okay, I have no idea where to go to even get a barcode. How do I do that? Because someone's going to tell you, oh, that's easy. Go to this website and just start plugging stuff in. So that's the other thing, is just asking.
I am so glad that you said that, because you are precisely right. We're a little bit strange in this industry. I mean, you would think that we're all from the Ozarks. Everyone is like family. We're happy. Well, I'll tell you this. I'll introduce you to that. Now, a direct competitor is not going to be as forthcoming. But I think so many of us just love the game so much. That it's fun for us to play it, and it's fun for us to coach it. And so 100%. I think you're precisely right. The last question, it might be one that you wouldn't be anticipating, but as a company that's still very much in growth mode, is there anything you need help with? Obviously, there's a great big community. You talked about a community being willing to help. Is there anything that you're really thinking about or laboring over or planning for that you wouldn't mind hearing from some folks about?
I think the thing that we're really focusing on right now is, because of the growth is, and we've bootstrapped this company up to this point, is, okay, if we really want to grow, what does that financially look like for us? So I think for us, it's absolutely the how do we continue to grow in a way, fortunately, we've been able to self-fund up to this point, but if we really want to hit the big guys that are, interested in us, and we're going to have to ramp up, what does that look like financially? So I think that's probably, and I'm sure that's what every company goes through in their growth. So that's probably the big thing that I'm working on right now.
Yeah, and it's a scary thing to talk about. So while everybody's thinking about it, most people wouldn't put themselves out there in that way, but that's probably one of the most honest things that I've heard. You can't self-fund it forever, or right. I mean, it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy. It'll always be a small operation, and you and your family will have a lot of fun and make a lot of great memories, but it will never realize its potential. So,
100%.
Super exciting. Well, Jolene, it has been so fun getting to know you. I'm really looking forward to following your story. Obviously, if there's anything I can do to help you and your team, please let me know. But folks, Jolene Conway, founder of Dible Dough, looking forward to trying the product very, very soon. And for anyone who's interested in learning more, they could go to your website, and they can order it directly or find it hopefully in their local store, if not now, very soon. So thank you so much for making time. Hope you have a great day, and congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
And best wishes going forward.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate the opportunity.
Have a great day.